As a kid, I was exposed mainly Christian music and classical music. My dad is a very musical person, even though he ended up not being a musician professionally. I do remember a CD of Beethoven sonatas that my dad brought home, and also a CD of Mozart's string quartets and music for chamber music. First CD I bought was a compilation of pieces by Rachmaninoff. I love his textures, the way he creates different textures on the piano. That's a big thing for me. I think there's no way for me to not be influenced by James Booker, Professor Longhair, and how they have, injected this city with their sound forever, The first thing that I ever learned how to do on the keyboard by ear was the tiny serenade. I don't even know what the name in English is, but yeah. I had a keyboard that looked like a toy. Every key you press, it would just light up, so you know which one you're playing. So I remember spending a whole afternoon trying to figure out the melody of what it was. That's my first memory of trying to figure something out just by ear. I do remember being attracted to the drumming at the church that we would go to with my family, as a little kid. The point that my dad had to buy a tambourine for me, because I was hitting the chair, I was really with the drummer, and I would go to the first row of the church, because I was particularly interested in the sermon, but just wanted to see the drummer up close. What is he doing? And I think that was my first looking up to a musician kind of moment, and oh yeah, I want to do that. New Orleans always offers me just an incredible amount of opportunities, artistic, musically, and most of the gigs and the music I do is also with people that I love, people that I respect, people that I learn from. So that's very valuable to me. I do find very interesting connection with New Orleans piano heritage and that of Latin American. I would say maybe more specifically Cuban, and I say Cuban because I have a closer connection to that school. One of my classical teachers was Cuban, and she, by way of Cuba, she was close to the Tchaikovsky Russian School of Music. So I'm familiar with that school. When I started getting into jazz and improvisation, it was through Latin jazz music. I feel like there's a very close relationship between that rhythmically, the Caribbean, Cuba, Latin American, and New Orleans. So even if I'm not studying Booker really focused, every day, I understand. I have a connection with the rhythm and the way they do things. There's a group of musicians in Honduras that we were in the conservatory studying classical music. But we would stay after hours and kind of just hang out. And we would fall in love with this music, with this Latin jazz, Latin rhythms, and improvisation. You know, Chucho Valdés, Michel Camilo, Paquito de Rivera, Irakere. So my friends had like a lot of burned CDs of that music, and we would just share it. And that way we became, we got a real book and like, let's figure this out. I have this recording, but he's not playing the same chords out there on the page, so I don't know what's happening. Well, let me figure it out. And not having, the resources to buy sheet music at that time, or sheet music were not available like it is now. So I would just go home and transcribe the songs and write parts and make, okay guys, let's play this song. Like, I figured it out. I don't know how we're gonna improvise on it, but we know this. Improvisation is a very special topic for me, because I feel it makes me really go and connect with myself more than anything else. In classical music, you have the composer in mind and his intentions, and you want to be true to that. Like an actor, you're playing a role and you want to portray that character in the best way possible. You can still put your own feelings or your own thing, but it's within a style, confined within this thing. Improvisation is like, okay, what do you have to say about this whole thing? What is your opinion? What do you have to say? So before the Latin influence and the jazz influence started, improvisation was something that I started just having a relationship with in my practice rooms, almost exclusively. Like, I would do these improvisations by myself in my practice room, and it would sound, like whatever I was practicing at the moment. So it would sound like Mozart, it would sound like Bach, it would sound like Chopin. And that at the time was something that it was very scary for me to do in public, to put myself, open myself that way in front of people. So my relationship to improvisation has changed from that period to then encounter this vehicle, which is jazz music. It's like, oh, now I have this as a language in which improvisation can really flourish. I try to always be in that place when I'm playing music, whether, different grades of improvisation or not, but be in a place where I can just be myself without overthinking and just let the music speak. Sometimes you're in your head, you say, oh man, that didn't sound as great. I didn't practice that, but that voice is always there. But getting to a point where you're not involved with that at all, but just with the music, I think that's the main goal, for me at least. I can have fun, I can enjoy playing all different kinds of music, connecting with people. But I feel what matters the most to me is how my state is in that very moment. I'm taking care of how I'm connecting with the music first. Then I can accept and not judge whatever's coming from the audience even, or from my peers. So if I'm really not thinking about anything and just hearing what the sounds are coming out of the instrument, not really as me playing there, but just like letting things happen. I'm always in search of being there in that space.